Videos you're about to see are a collection of videos that I've already done. Now, I've put these into categories. So in other words, out of the, at the moment, 900 odd videos I've done, I cover many different subjects from spirits, Bigfoots, aliens, ancient aliens, etc. So the video you're about to watch is a collection of just one subject. In other words, Anunnaki, pyramids, Egypt, whatever it is that you're just about to watch. Now, you can watch them all on YouTube free of charge, no problem at all. They're in sets of 5, as you see here, or they're actually in sets of 50, so you can actually watch them in one whole go, right from video number 1. But you can also go to my website and find the links and podcasts, etc. there. And the website address is ourtruehistory.co.uk, and you can again find the videos straight through there. And there's some special ones there which are also on YouTube. But if you're after something that's not on YouTube or on my website, I do have a Patreon page called Our True History, and it's at the moment it's got 76 other videos. Now, some of these are actually proper documentaries that I make. So there's a documentary called Everything You Need to Know About Spirits. There's a documentary called Everything You Need to Know About Mermaids. The spirit one is 3 hours long, fully edited properly, etc. So if you are interested in more of my kind of projects or what do I call them, videos, feel free to go to my Patreon page. And also ones that are not categorized on YouTube, even though they're free on YouTube, but the ones that are not categorized, if you click here, you'll see category videos on my Patreon page, and it's got other ones, so it just calls part videos. So basically it's the same as what you're watching now, but may not be on YouTube. I've put the category ones on Patreon, but again, you can watch them all in order on YouTube or my website free of charge. But Patreon, unfortunately, you have to pay. But that's why I sit and make very long documentaries about everything you need to know, etc. So hopefully I'll see you there. Anyway, enough of me waffling. Enjoy this whatever it is you're watching, because I'm using the same intro for all the videos. Thank you. So I'm just moving on slightly from the Anunnaki. We'll cover them as we go along still. But we're talking about now the universe and how the universe was created. And obviously the main theory is the Big Bang, but obviously there's the problem that what was before the Big Bang, and why isn't there more of whatever it was that created the Big Bang happening? But it expanded outwards, as scientists say. So if we take the analogy that it's a bubble, and one of these bubbles, the actual what makes the bubble up is matter, if the adjacent bubble bursts and the matter goes inside our bubble, then that could be creating the stars, universe, etc., and also would explain why the universe is expanding, and eventually our bubble will pop and whatever's in our bubble will go into the next bubble. So this would also help with the adjacent multiverses and multiverses and things like that. So it's a possibility. People talk about us being in a simulation. Let me just quickly tell you a story about a bloke that kneeled up against, with his head up against one of these stones, which is a stone doorway, ancient. He was told by the locals to hum a certain frequency. He did that, he disappeared. His wife was standing there outside or standing back and saw him disappear. He ended up in a room where this voice telepathically spoke to him and asked him questions, etc. And it turns out in front of him was this force field that was holding in a universe. Now, the universe was our universe. So they basically sort of said that they created some sort of device that was a bit similar to our Hadron Collider, where they would experiment, and unfortunately they created a universe, and now they have to keep it locked in because obviously there's people in there, which is us. He came back through, and when he came back through, time had gone and police were there. Okay, we've got to the flat earth theory now, so you're wondering where I am on this. So if we all agree that space is gravity-less, in other words, there's a plane that you can do what they call the vomit comet, where it's actually weightlessness. So if we agree that above even the dome, if it is a flat earth, that there is weightlessness. Now, when you wring out water of in space, it doesn't actually go flat. It goes into a ball, as you see there. So the next video I'm doing sort of explains possibly how Earth itself was created as a sphere, and how things stick to it, because water in space is ultra sticky, as you can see here. So watch the next video and it will make... One of the arguments that people say that there is a real sort of God that created the universe is because everything is perfectly working, you know, the sun is going round and we're going round and we're not bashing into anything. So they say that's divine intervention, or that's, you know, been created like that. However, if you imagine the universe starting as a big bang, now just watch what happens with these balls. They go everywhere, but eventually, a billion years later, trillion years later, they all settle. So my argument is, in the universe, everything, yes, at the beginning was bashing into each other and everything else, doesn't mean there was some divine being specifically put in Earth exactly where it is to rotate, etc. It's just over a humongous amount of time, everything just settled down to a natural order. There's a thing called Bode's law, which basically says from the sun outwards, every planet should be twice the distance from the previous planet, which means there should have been a planet between Mars and Jupiter. Now, there's probably different names for it. One such name is Tiamat. Now, if this planet was really there, it could have smashed into Earth, because some scientists, not many, but some say that Earth was smashed into and part of it broke off and created the moon with the other planet. So, for example, Daniel Hurwitz used samples from meteorites from the moon and suggested that the isotopes and titanium and oxygen, etc., was created from Earth and this other planet. I'm just going to sidestep Egypt for a moment. People have asked who was before the Anunnaki, if anyone at all. There's a thing called panspermia, which basically means that a planet is seeded from outside of itself. In other words, the planet didn't create life on its own. Life came to it from either bacteria on a meteorite, or an alien race deliberately started life here. Now, if there is any proof that we had panspermia, it could be such as these things here. These are millions of years old, and they're dotted all over South Africa, and they're perfectly, you know, round, and which is sort of not normally done in nature. Then you've also got these other balls here, which are apparently 2.8 billion years old. Now these look like they've had some work done to them. So there's an alien race that we call the Ancients. I will get to them, and now they possibly created life on Earth, and I'll get to them and explain why later on in another video. Creationism versus evolution. Right, evolution works for every single animal. Yes, even alligators and sharks. You can see a lineage back from evolution. However, apes or monkeys to man, there is nothing in between. So we can't see anything back from us. So yes, evolution's right, but when it comes to humans who have fused chromosomes, as mentioned in other videos, that can only be done in a lab environment, which is obviously done by the Anunnaki. So humans are created, but evolution does work, it's real. Just to give you an example here, this little fella here, every time his pond dries up, he's grown legs and can now breathe air just across to the next pond, so he's in water. Hawaii was formed 70 million years ago. Obviously, the planet's well older than that. So this was formed, and only on that island was certain plants and certain animals, which means God didn't suddenly come back to Earth and say, I know what, I'll create new species on this one island. No, it's evolution. Free will and your future. So spirits can look backwards, forwards into the future. How many times have we heard people asked in spirits, you know, oh, am I going to meet the right man or the right woman, or, you know, what's going to happen? Am I going to find a job in the future? And that's because, you know, on Ouija boards they reply back. So yes, they can see past, present and future, which goes back to the old Christmas tale. But the question then is, if they can see the future, do we have free will? The answer is yes and no. We did have free will when the first incarnation of us went round once. So they can see to the end of the universe. So we have been round once, and that's happened once. The first time we had free will. Now we've not got free will. It's already happened, and it's going to happen again. However, when someone goes back in time and changes it, it goes to a different timeline. So sometimes the spirits can't actually see what happens because it's on a different line. Okay, I'm going to go back round and start from the beginning. So I'm going to start from life on Earth. Now, this is Ayers Rock in Australia, mate, and it's 2 miles wide and 3 miles deep. Goes down quite big. Now, the locals there say that it's was sent from the Pleiades by the serpent spirit, the rainbow serpent spirit, and that it had life attached to it, and when it landed, obviously the life spread all over Earth. Now that's the name for that is called panspermia. Now if that's the case, I wouldn't say that it was just one particular place on Earth, because as you know, life, I think, probably was seeded. If an alien race deliberately seeded us, they would have done it in more than just one location, because if it didn't work there, then it would have been game over. So if Ayers Rock has anything to do with it, then that's how it came here. Now bacteria would have had to have survived on the rock before it hit Earth. Now NASA's doing some tests called Tanpopo, probably pronounced wrong, but basically they're saying how long can bacteria survive, and what they found is that if you have a few layers of bacteria, the top layers die off, but the ones underneath can survive at least for 8 years. So I'm just going to have to, because I'm going back round, I have to do my usual watch this.
Have you ever left the fridge door open and wasted food? You can now attach this small fridge door alarm to your fridge or freezer door. You can choose a setting for how long you want to wait before it beeps. It starts low, then gets louder the longer the door is open. It also works with these type of fridge freezers by placing it on top of the door. To find out more, visit fridgedoораlarm.com or buy it on eBay.
Sorry about that, guys. So I'm going to go back round. I might take a little bit more time to do these. Like I said before, I'll do them as 3-minute versions. So if you're happy and you know it, please leave comments. As we found out before, that I get virtually no views if no one leaves comments, and I think I'm probably also slightly shadow banned for saying some things that people don't want to hear. So if you want to help and support me, just set, on it, virtually every video. I know it sounds bad, but if you wouldn't mind just putting a little message on there, that would help, and then it makes me feel like I'm appreciated, and I'll go back around and fill in some of the stuff that you guys have been probably dying to find out. So here we go again. Thanks. In 2003, a T-Rex leg bone was found, and what made this different was that it still had soft tissue, which is normally fossilized. So they dated the bone to be 75 million years old because, hey, that's when T-Rexes walked the earth. So there's a mismatch there. You've got soft tissue that shouldn't survive that long, and yet T-Rexes, as far as mainstream's concerned, lived 75 million years ago. So you guess where I'm going with this. So what if that T-Rex isn't as old as they think it is? Let's just say it's 3,000 years old. That would explain the soft tissue. And as I've mentioned before in previous videos, dinosaur bones and dinosaur footprints, etc., coexisted with man around 3,000 plus years ago. So if it's not panspermia that created life on Earth, and I'm not saying it is or isn't, the next option would be God. And here's a picture of God, white man, white beard. Yes, that's because the Anunnaki, who were gods, their name as a race was Elohim, and that's why it's written down. And they had white hair, white beard, which is why you've got that picture there. But let's assume that there is the creation God, because obviously when people talk about God, they're not really talking about the Anunnaki, because they don't really, religious people don't really understand the Anunnaki, and they don't really want to know. They just want to see that there's a divine being that will give them miracles, and they pray to him, etc. So let's forget the Anunnaki for a second.
Someone has sent you a WhatsApp.
Sorry about that message. Let's forget about the Anunnaki. Let's pretend that there's a creation or a source of some sort, and I'm not saying there isn't, but let's go with that for a moment. Now, I was just reading a post about someone that said about the double you-know-what that's being put in people's arms at the moment. And they wrote, "I'm a proud sheep, the Lord is my shepherd," and they put Lord as in capital. So that made me think, well, hang on a minute, this person's clearly praying that the Lord will look after them. Let's just have a look whether the Lord has looked after anyone in the last decade. This is just a decade of wars. Now, if anyone can point out any miracles that the Lord may have saved any of these people, that would have thousands and thousands, millions of people died in the last 100 years. If someone just points out one of these, if you say, "Oh yeah, no, that was a miracle, they all got saved," no, they're all dead, unfortunately. And then that goes on to the pandemics as well, Black Death, Spanish flu. There was no saviour. So I know I'm probably going to get hated for this, but just lose logic. There is no saviour that's going to save anyone, even from the stuff that's going on right now. You know, that person that wrote "The Lord is my saviour," and he's a proud sheep. It's not going to happen. It would have happened before for all these poor people that have died. Look, death tolls. There are no miracles. So once people start realising that the God, unfortunately, there may be a creation, but it wasn't the one that's done it in 7 days or 6 days and had a rest, because the Book of Enoch, which is prior to the Bible by thousands of years, actually said the Anunnaki came down, catalogued various things on throughout 6 days, you know, the plants and the animals, and on the 7th day they rested. That is where the Bible got it from. Unfortunately, we're on our own. We need to, you know, start taking ownership of our own lives. OMG, don't listen to mainstream science. Maybe actually start watching my videos and you'll realise that I seem to know a little bit more than mainstream. So mainstream say that this is a big lump of iron that's in the centre of our planet, and I suggested that it's actually possibly ice, or at least water, and the reasons for that I go into on my videos, and it actually makes a lot more sense than it being iron or a lump of iron. However, now scientists have come out with, they're saying they think the centre of the Earth has semi-soft characteristics, semi-soft. Now they're saying where liquid metal is stored. Now, semi-soft characteristics of liquid. So forget the metal, because that's obviously them again thinking that they know everything and thinking that they know it's metal. But they also were the ones that thought it was a big solid rock lump of iron, but now they're saying it's liquid. So maybe I am right and it is water. And if you watch my previous videos, I explain why it's probably water. The molten core or ice. I did a video, the last video, talking about this, but I've just found another site here that's actually saying, from University of Hawaii, is saying that it is liquid materials. Now, the last video I done was showing another site where they said it was possibly liquid metals, but obviously no one knows because no one's actually gone there. But Hawaii is actually admitting now that it could just be liquid materials as opposed to metals, and therefore the ice idea, see video number 37 I think it is of mine if you're interested in how the centre would be ice, and makes actually more sense than metal, believe it or not. Once again, I'm using these websites which have universities behind them to say that I'm kind of more right than wrong. The Anunnaki needed gold. Now, they couldn't get it from their own planet, so they decided that they would try and get it from the asteroid belt, which they called the Hammer Bracelet. That's actually the transcription of it. And they sent up 2 ships. Yes, they did have space technology back then, and that's the furthest they'd ever have gone onto the asteroid belt. So they went up there and to mine for gold. Now, the asteroid belt apparently is part of a planet called Tiamat that was here and was smashed into, and the Tiamat supposedly had 2 halves to it. One was land and the other half was ocean. And apparently our Earth is the ocean part when it got smashed into billions and billions of years ago. But so that's why we've got gold, and also the top part's got gold, which is now the asteroid belt. But unfortunately, the 2 spaceships that went up to mine for gold didn't ever come back. Alalulu left Nibiru because he was banished and headed towards Earth. And this is all in the Book of Enki, Lost Book of Enki, but obviously it's from ancient tablets. And these tablets are hundreds of thousands of years old. Mainstream will tell you they're 5,000 to 10,000 years old. No, hundreds of thousands of years ago is when these were written. But anyway, Alalulu then in the spaceship passes the asteroid belt, and this is all described perfectly in his in the texts. So if you get a chance, try and read or listen to an audiobook of the Lost Book of Enki. You blow your mind. Now, as he passes all these different planets on his own in this spaceship towards Earth, he's describing each planet. Now, this is thousands of years old information. Even if it's 10,000 years old, which is not, thousands of years old, this still proves that back then they knew about all these different planets. He talks about the rings on Saturn, etc. My take on how the universe started, as far as I'm aware, no one else has come up with this idea. So if I'm right, yay me, get another medal in the office. So the criteria as it stands now is there was a big bang, but no one knows what it was created from. There's no creator behind that actually created it, and we're not really sure why it's expanding. So my theory is, just like CERN here, which is that Hadron Collider, where they're trying to create a God particle, an alien race did the same thing, accidentally created a universe. Now to them it's minuscule, but to us, if we was in that universe, it would be massive. So let's look at the criteria now. Creator of everything, yes, an alien race accidentally done it. Started with 2 atoms, so now we can say that it was actually started with 2 atoms. And why is it expanding? Is because they've created a mini universe. So what do you think? The planet Nibiru is fake with the aliens on. Seriously, Anunnaki on a planet 3,600 year elliptical orbit, and we don't know about it. That's why it's obviously got to be fake, because there's no such thing. However, there is a planet called Sedna, and that's supposedly found in 2003 by NASA, and it's got an elliptical orbit, not of 3,600 years apparently. It's got an 11,000 year orbit around our sun. So we do have another planet that NASA says. Now let's just imagine NASA knows about Nibiru, knew about it for a very long time, but needed to, shall we say, change the goalposts because they don't want people thinking that there is a planet called Nibiru. So they make up a planet called Sedna, still with the same elliptical orbit, but just a different planet. What do you think? Can someone help me out? Am I missing something here? I had a pilot on my live chat the other day, and he said that he believes the Earth's flat. So I said, no problem at all. Just go in any direction in your plane, take a picture of it from the edge. And of course he didn't. But the point is, every time someone says it's flat Earth, I say, where's the edge? And they can't answer that. But now, to get around that, in my opinion, they've now come up with Norb's theory. So if you just watch this little video here, it basically shows that instead of there being a flat Earth, they've now added ice wall round one part, then another bit of Earth that no one can see, then another bit of Earth that no one's ever seen, and then they wrap it all up in a dome. So you've got that. Now, to me, it kind of seems like every time I ask for the edge of the Earth, they've now concocted, I might be wrong, but they've now concocted this whole new ice sheet thing, and then another land and another land. Of course, if no one's ever seen it, how do I... So I'm just replying to this person about flat Earth. Now, flat earthers believe that this here, this rim, is Antarctica, and it goes all the way around the planet, and it's an ice sheet that you can fly over, but they don't. So the argument is that NASA and Americans, military, stop anyone, no matter where they are on the 24,000 miles round. They somehow magically stop them on a boat or a plane to go off and over the edge. Now, my argument is, well, what happened when NASA wasn't around? What happens when the America wasn't the military might that it is now? Prior to that, there was people that, you know, Russians didn't get on with Americans, and Germany didn't get on with people. So all these other countries that could have quite easily bumped into the ice wall at any point, if you believe there's an ice wall. But no one's ever said that. Otherwise, we'd have maps showing this. So this was regarding me asking for the picture of the edge of a flat Earth. and this person saying that I keep saying the same thing, asking for the edge, but he's now saying to me, show me a picture of the planet. Now, we know NASA lie. No, I think everyone kind of agrees with that. So the problem there is when NASA lies, flat earthers, for example, believe that everything NASA says is a lie. So this person's asked him for a picture of the planet. Now, it's easier, wait for it, it's easier for anyone to go to the edge of a flat earth than it is to go into space. There's 9 billion of us at the moment that could go to any edge. There's only a handful that can actually get into space. So stop asking people to go into space, because that's really difficult. But anyone can go to the edge, anyone at all. Just grab a boat, plane, and you're there. But spaceships are harder to get, so please, show me the edge. Show me the money! Let me tell you a true story about aliens coming to Earth, and you're going to want to know the source, which I will give you at the end of this video, bro. So there was a planet called Nibiru that came from outside our solar system, and its 4 moons smashed into a planet called Tiamat that was between Mars and Jupiter. Now when Tiamat got smashed up, it formed the asteroid belt, it formed Earth, it formed the moon. And also there's still mini little planets in the asteroid belt that it created, called, there's one there. So it's not just rocks in the asteroid belt, there's mini planets. Now the source of the information is these tablets here. This is called the Umm Relish. It's in the British Museum. There's many other of these tablets around the world, and if you say they're fake, then there's no hope for you. Wait, this isn't another flat earth video. This is a video showing that Perry Reese, who people believe was one of the people that actually created the flat earth maps, and therefore what he done was correct, and therefore there's no globe. Now, Perry Reese was around from the 1400s to the 1500s and was a cartographer, which he made many maps. Now, keep that date in mind, because in 1492, this is the oldest known surviving globe of the Earth, in other words, round, not flat. Now, if we go here, round representations of the Earth go back to ancient Greece, which predates all of the maps that people talk about as being flat. So ancient Greece, thank you very much.